This programme was funded by the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with the television licence fee.
This is Animal Rescue Louth. My name is Alan Byrne. It is a sunny mid-August morning as I head out northwards from Dundalk along the Cooley Peninsula. At the crossing of Meath, I turn up left onto the mountain road and park at Holly's Horsehaven, overlooking Carlingford Loch. I'm calling in to talk to Joe and Elaine Duffy, and also to Fiona Squibb, Inspector with the Louth Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals.
It's a nice morning. Joe, Alan, nice to meet you. Morning, this we're here. Right. They're in here, the two. What's that in up there? Sort of washed down right now. Hello. How are you doing?
Hi, Alan.
Hi, Fiona.
Going down.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. Certainly away from it all up here anyway.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Ours is the same out of the kennels as well. It's so peaceful.
It is, yeah. Hello there.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, good to meet you too.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, not a bother.
Okay, I'm Elaine Duffy from Holly's Horsehaven Charity in Omeath, County Louth.
Fiona Squibb, Inspector for the Louth SPCA.
Okay, and could you just describe our location here, Elaine?
Well, we're based in Omeath, overlooking the Carlingford Loch. It's stunningly beautiful, rural and peaceful and quiet, as we would need for all our beautiful rescues.
Fiona, you're out here this morning, so you do a lot of work with all animals, but you've a close affiliation with Holly's Horsehaven.
Yeah, we've been kind of working together ever since they really started up, and I call on them and they're very kindly come out and help me out on numerous occasions and smile sometimes. Other times he goes, what do you want? Much as I say to him sometimes too. But we do try to work together, and Elaine's been very helpful to me in...
Yeah. You get horses then from over Warren Point, Rostrevor area?
Or do we get? Yes, we would get a lot of cross-border. We take them from, as I say, from Derry to Kerry and back. So we get horses from all over Ireland, everywhere. Yeah.
You did it once, did an awful lot in Galway, didn't
Oh
you?
God, yes. We were helping. Yeah, we were helping out with the Galway mountain ponies, and they were taking them down.
The talk turns to abandoned horses that were rescued.
We all were looking for in the forest. Do you remember, Joe?
Oh God,
The abandoned one.
It's we were called one day to one. It had been dumped up in the forest there. In fact, there on Jenkinstown Hill it was. So when we went out to it, we caught it handy enough. It wasn't too bad. Came for a bit of feed and that. Took it back in, and we noticed that it was having a problem eating. So we got the vet out to check it, and it turned out it had a deformity. Now this horse, as I do say, it was skin and bones. It was just a skeleton with a sheet thrown over it, you know. So of course you knew straight away that there was a serious problem there, and that's why it had been dumped. Whoever owned it wouldn't go to the expense of putting the animal down, humanely putting the animal asleep, because it had a problem, and they wouldn't go. They had this animal, but yet they wouldn't go to the expense of having the animal humanely put asleep. And you get that regular, you know. But we got the vet out to check it, and it turned out yes, it had a deformity in its mouth. One of the jaws was longer than the other, and it couldn't chew the food properly. So we had to put the animal asleep. We ended up then, as I said to Elaine, we end up then with the expense of having to put the animal asleep, doing the humane thing, because there was nothing you could do, you know. We'll get the vet out, and if the vet says, look, that's fine, you know. They have the final say, and that's it, you know. So that had to be done, but it's happened many's a time, you know.
Our main goal here would be that we would care rehabilitate, and then back them for homing, because it's much easier to home a riding pony or horse than it is one that is a companion. And there we come to our sticky point. Many times we would get horses in here that would be pregnant, And unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way we're going to look at it, we would see it fortunately, that foal survives, and we would have a long, drawn-out process of keeping, mum feeding, and then getting ready to home that pony or horse. And unfortunately, it's difficult to find people who will take on something as young as a yearling or under 3, as saying goes, before they can be ready for backing. So we have that long period of time where they're here with us. So what we really, really would be looking for is people that would be out there that would come on board as foster carers, even if they can't commit to adopting, just to foster and help us out on those occasions, that we can have them off our ground, because as I always say, one home equals a space here for some pony or horse that's in desperation. And that we do have the facilities available then when Fiona does pick up that phone and say, I need you now. We have that stable ready, which we always try to do, to accommodate.
It's time to take a walk up the yard, and we are followed by Kevin, a rescue cat that Fiona brought to Holly's. Joe introduces Holly Horsehaven volunteers, Lauren and Rita.
This is Rita, one of our volunteers, and this is Brian that be's down with us, 2 volunteers. This is his daughter, Lauren. She's down happy while she's off school now. I'm
Lauren, and I help with the horses. I muck them out and I groom them and I feed them.
And I do the same, help out and muck out, and go if there's any scapees, help to catch them and rescue and brushing and feeding and everything. I came here as well as I suffered with depression. And thank God now I haven't been at a doctor's in 3.5 years looking for anything off them or pills or anything like that. So this is my counselling, my medicine, everything in all in one, I haven't looked back since. And it's the best place ever for anybody that has any problems. The horses are brilliant. Just to be around them and the spirituality of them, and look at their faces. How could you how could you not love that face? He's just handsome, and it's just a pleasure to do it. I can't see myself doing anything else. When I came here first, I couldn't see a way in life. There was nowhere for me to go. Only maybe in the ground. I couldn't find a way out. But came here and life just changed completely, It's just fabulous.
I can see this is Miller here. Can you tell me a little bit about him? Because he's very fond of you.
Oh,
he's just putting a head over and he's trying to lick your hand.
Because he knows I'm the one that feeds. I'm the one that comes with the treats and they just get to know you so quickly once you're kind to them. That's all you have to be, kind and loving. It's so easy because you get so much back. He's trying to eat the microphone.
He's over here smelling, and his ears are going up and to the front as well. So what does that mean?
That means that he's in good form. He loves the company, and he just loves being around you, and he just loves the streets.
Elaine describes the distressed mental state of horses that arrive, and what Joe, the volunteers, and herself do to care for and rehabilitate the animals.
When they come in here and they've been very badly abused or very badly treated, they will run over into the corner of the stable and they will hide their head. And in doing that, it is the old children's idea of, if you can't see me, if I can't see you, you can't see me. And it's amazing how it takes maybe 3-4 days of putting that food in and giving them their creature necessities to survive, that it takes that time for them just to turn their head slightly and look to see who is around me now, and are they coming at me with some sort of a weapon or some sort of some sort of an implement that's going to burn me, hurt me, cut me, and it is soul destroying to watch them go through that process. And we actually, in our stables, we would have stables at the very bottom where we put new horses or ponies into, where there isn't a lot of traffic and there isn't a lot of people passing by, so that they will allow them for those few days of rehabilitation.
It is uncomfortable to talk about the suffering of animals, But Elaine is upfront about describing the cruelty she has witnessed.
We've had horses in here that have been burnt with cigarettes, that have been beaten with fishing lines, that there's no part of their body you can see without it being welts and blood. And we have seen horses in here who have had their limbs broken with pure cruelty. And we've had horses in here that have been tied up, locked in stables for weeks on end with no water and food, with a human coming looking at them to check if they died yet.
Back up at the stables, Rita tells us about her daily routine to keep the animals clean and healthy, the grooming, cleaning hooves, and how the horses can notice if you're not in the best of form in the morning.
We give them their hay. Now we'll probably go in for a wee cup of tea ourselves, just to ground ourselves and say hello to everybody and ask everybody how they're doing and whatever. And then we come out and we do our mucking out. And then once that's all finished, we probably have another cup of tea. We love tea around here. And then we definitely do our grooming. And a bit of handling. Some of the horses here need 1-to-1 for about an hour. And if you do that every day, they come around so easily.
Okay, yeah. So you two things there. So what's involved in the grooming, first of all?
Just make sure their coat is well groomed and there's you don't find any lumps or any midgets in there or fleas, and make sure their feet are cleaned out very well, because they get a lot of feet problems if, with the muck and the urine and stuff. So you just make sure they're well cleaned out.
How do you look after their feet then?
Some horses will happily give you their foot. Some horses will go, no, don't like that. So you have to walk.
Workable.
Anything that's workable. and some that aren't workable, they do eventually come around when they trust you. It's like people. If somebody hurts you, it takes you a long time to trust again. But they do. That's one thing about an animal, it'll trust very easily and very quickly. They do come around. But they're very cute and very, very intelligent. They can, they know if you're, especially with me now, my depression, I can have a bad day. And the horses will not be long. It won't be long telling me. They won't come near me.
They'll avoid you, will they?
They'll avoid me, yeah.
Would they walk away from me?
They would, yeah. And they'd carry on eating or whatever, yeah.
Right. And they wouldn't even maybe look around to see who it is?
No. Well, some of them would. They'll come over and maybe give you a wee nudge, much say, go on, it's okay, your day will be okay. And then when you get that nudge, you know it's going to be okay.
Who we homed recently, Joe?
The two Shetlands.
Ponies are also cared for, and when they have been rehabilitated, they are ready for rehoming. Elaine is flicking through photographs on their Facebook page. Horses and ponies that have been rehomed.
Last week we homed two Shetlands they went up to a good home in Termonfeckin there. The two had to go together because we couldn't separate them. They were they'd always been together, and they just, if you took, even in the stables, we had to put the two into the one stall, because if you put them in separate stalls, they'd just freak out and they'd start sweating up and
panicking.
Really going, yeah.
So they were with us about 12 months, maybe more, Joe?
It'd be longer, yeah. It'd be 18, maybe even 2 years. Mm-hmm. It was when they come in first. As Jack wouldn't have been too bad, but Muffin now, he would have been one of the ones that he would have stood in the back of the stall and wouldn't come near you at all. And gradually, when you keep feeding them and give them that kindness, they'll gradually come that bit closer to you. It just takes time and patience and a lot of love,
Yeah, a lot of the ponies you see that we get in, really, we wouldn't know their background story, simply because there are quite a few of our ponies that we would work with that would come from other organisations or other government bodies that they've been seized. Yeah. So in seizing them, then there has to be a prosecution and a court case. These would be animals that are being held as evidence for the court case, and then when that time is up they have to be rehabilitated. So they'll come to the like of ourselves and the ISPCA and other organisations that can help them out to put them with us to see if we can get them homed. Unfortunately, in the seizing of them, that's confidential information and they cannot pass it on to us because it's a court situation. So we don't know. We just get these terrified little ponies that come in. They say, oh, that was a really bad situation. Now, you've got to understand, and anybody out there in the public will understand, a prosecution doesn't happen without a very, very, very good reason for it to happen. And it is dire straits. It's a dire situation. So all of those animals have been taken from a horrendous background. So this is Jack and Muffin arriving to us after a prosecution case.
Elaine went on to describe the cruelty that horses endure, beatings and burnings, and the mission of Holly's to rebuild the horse's confidence in humankind.
What are they going to associate with those human beings? And what are they reading from those human beings? And I'm going to use the word hate, because it does exist out there. We cannot run around in a fancy world and say there is no hate and there is no evil. There is, and it comes in a human form. So these animals are unconditional. They have no judgment with anyone. All they want to do is love people, and yet they are pushed beyond all limitations in any shape, form or manner. And here we are trying to pick up those fragments of their life.
The Haven is kept going with the enormous goodwill of volunteers and the tremendous support from local companies involved in the feed and horse clothing industries, delivering supplements, feed and horse blankets. Fiona from the LSPCA recognises the similar initial cowering behaviour of dogs that she rescues.
We have one in at the moment, a collie that I found in a field. Took me 2 hours to catch her. She's still stuck to a wall. But she has certain people she will sit with and that. But still at the moment, like, if she got out, she'd be gone again. And I know where you're coming from with the stuck on the wall bit, you know.
Fight or flight.
Yeah, fight or flight, yeah, it's absolutely, yeah. And the fear in their eyes. God knows what happened to her in the beginning, we don't know. But then the other way is as well, the volunteers that come out to visit us, and some have never been before, and they come out and they kind of go, oh my goodness, this is a great place. Because they come out thinking it's going to be like Belsen, where they're all locked in, or Alcatraz or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they're not. Ours are out. They've got paddling pools. They've got things to run through. They're out playing all day long. They're actually glad to go in at night because they're bloody knackered by the time they're finished. But that, again, is the therapeutic side, that when our dogs leave us, we know them very well. But they're also well capable of dealing with any human being that comes at them. Mm-hmm. You know, well, obviously with kindness, obviously, you know, not traumatic, but they're well capable of going to a home. It's like the 2 puppies that are in the house at the minute. They're well capable of going to a house because they've been with the dogs, the cats, the children, everything. They've had everything fired at them, you know. So, again, like you, it is that side of it from the volunteers and yourselves and ourselves that we work so hard with all the animals to make them ready for the outside life.
Mm-hmm. And they do attract a certain type of person. You know, I mean, we are very aware that where volunteers are concerned, people will stop and they'll think, can I do this? Mm. Could I actually go out and be involved with an animal that has been traumatised or has been hurt or damaged? And I will say to those people, we started off just solely being rescue for horses. We decided we were just going to do horses because of that niche. And through its own evolution of the needs of people that have come to us here at Holly's, we have found that people with mental health pressures, problems, addiction problems, mm-hmm. They fade.
Yeah, we have that out of the kennels as well. We have a lot of people with different disabilities coming out. We have some from the St John of God's. They very kindly have made flower beds for us and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But we also have head trauma people and stuff like that. They would only come for an hour or two with their carers, but they walk off smiling.
With a smile.
Yeah, so I would assume that it is therapeutic to them, and it's something that they actually have asked to do. to be with the animals.
And that's creature consciousness. For anyone that doesn't understand or is saying, what are they on about? It is a powerful healing energy that draws people, that you cannot spend time with these animals without smiling. And a smile is everything. You know, a smile lights up your life and lights up everybody's lives around you. And you know, you start off working with animals and it never occurs to you that you're going to be involved with human beings. And along come these beautiful, especially special needs who have that innocence about them that is, you know, we've seen traumatised ponies in those stables that will not come near anyone, and a special needs child, a child with autism or a child with, you know, who is just, you know, special needs, stands at that gate and that pony will turn around, look at them and walk over to them. Yeah. And everybody stands there in complete and total awe, you know. And you have children that we've had come to us that have had emotional problems, have had difficulties in their lives, and you give them a brush to groom one of our rescue horses and they're standing there. We have seen these children collapse and put their arms around their neck and cry into the neck of these horses who they understand are on their level.
The stars of this programme are the rescued horses, so we'll take another visit to the stable to meet April, a foal who arrived 2 Hollies in the back of Fiona's LSPCA van.
Oh, that's April.
Won't you?
Good guess.
She good, April?
Attention.
Yeah, you're good. Right,
this is April, who was rescued
by Louth
SPCA and Holly's Horse Haven in April.
Yeah.
That's why she was called April.
Yeah, she was a week old.
Yeah, so she's...
If she was.
She's now, what, 3.5 months, is it, roughly? Yeah, she's doing really well. Under the care and attention here.
Yeah. And we'll keep everybody informed on how she's doing.
Well, you wouldn't pick her up and carry her now.
You sure wouldn't.
She'd not be sitting in the back of my van this time.
I don't think so. It would be a bit of a squeeze, Fiona.
No, I must bring Shannon down to see her.
An extension on the van.
Fiona takes up the story of the day she received a call to rescue April.
Yes, we have April, who is now 3 months old. She was found over in a skene, just standing in a yard. A man found her one morning. And I was going back to the kennels to actually get somebody to come and help me, but he lifted her and turfed her in the back of my van, so I had to travel at about 5 miles an hour then, much to the disgust of most of the traffic. We had my assistant manager, my kennel manager I should say, Shannon was sitting in the back of the van and this was lying across her like a puppy dog, and we opened the back of the van to the astonishment of them all with this thing lying across Shannon's legs. And and everybody's face kind of just went, oh my God. But it was funny.
What would have happened in this case? Would you have received a phone call, an urgent phone call from Fiona to say, have you got space?
No. Fiona lands on our doorstep knowing that we always have a stable there for Louth SPCA. Whether we have to mooch 2 in together or shove them in the van. She arrived in the yard and opened the back of the van and said, look what I've got. The programming of feeding. Nobody could ever understand. It's easy to say, you know, oh well, you know, you take this wee foal and you feed it and it'll be grand. Every 2 hours, day and night, is traumatic for everybody around it, and the commitment that it takes from the people who are there on hand is just an incredible thing. You know, I mean, we have the like of Tracy, who slept on our sofa in the kitchen so she wouldn't disturb anyone. Rita coming up here walking her dog at 3 o'clock in the morning. Joe coming up to do his in between feeds the girls. It's just unbelievable. And then it's all the emotional contact with her too, because, you know, you've got other horses around her and the noises, and it's so frightening, and trying to find somewhere where she's quiet and peaceful. It just is a 24-hour commitment on all sides. It's just unbelievable, and the people we have around us here are just incredible. They're absolutely incredible.
I asked Fiona what signs she would look for when she comes across a distressed animal. How can you check if they need food, medication, or judge how they might react when you come up close to them?
It's much the same as us looking at some of the dogs and the puppies when we get the puppies. We would look at the gums in particular, because if they're very white, then they're shut down and you need treatment or fluids immediately. It would be shock. But this one, there was none of that with her. She was fairly bright and bushy-tailed, took to us all quite well. To see her lying across Shannon in the back of the van, like she was very relaxed, actually went to sleep.
And her eyes said, fight for life.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I am here and I am staying.
Yeah, you kind of... It's very hard to explain to you how we look for signs. It's just, by looking at them, whether they're down and you can see the fear in their eyes, especially I'm looking at it from dogs' point of view and puppies and stuff like that. Fear in their eyes, and you just know by looking at them if you need extra help. This one in particular was just get some food into her. Now, the man who'd found her did actually provide her with some milk, and Joe came out and he was putting the bottle in her mouth and she was kind of spitting it around herself, and in the end I said, just try it in the bucket, and she actually did lap it out of the bucket in the end, so it was a little bit easier than doing the bottles. You were able to hold the bucket there. So she was a fighter, I think, right from the very beginning.
Elaine and Fiona talk about creature consciousness. That's when a pony or a horse or a dog comes over to a person and there is an innate understanding of unconditional love.
And it is that spark that you talk about, Fiona, that you see in all animals' eyes. That we call it our creature consciousness. It really is that you look, and humans can connect with these animals, and we have had horses come into us where you look at them and they're looking at you and you just know they're saying to you, I can't do this. I have had enough. Yeah. I cannot take any more. And at that point, which is very rare, let me tell you, that we would send for a vet and say, this is enough is enough. Enough is enough. But most of them will have that fight for life. Most of them will look at you and say, I am going to work with you and we are going to do this, This is going to be something that we're going to work at together, and I am going to be back up and running with your help.
So can you just tell me more a little bit about that creature consciousness? It's coming into contact with an animal for the first time, and they're gauging you, you're gauging them, and you're approaching them very cautiously.
Tentatively. Yeah. It's gaining their confidence in you, and that you're not going to hit them or do something dire to them. I mean, obviously we have to inject in that, which is dire enough, I suppose. But on the whole, in the very instance, I think they know whether to trust you or not. It's in the touch and how you touch them and how you approach them. And you don't go face into their faces. You just do it slowly, and they learn that you're okay.
I asked Fiona what would happen if Joe and Elaine at Holly's horse could not make it out to a call, and she told me about what she calls her horsey men. Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously my first port of call is here. If I couldn't get them, then I have to kind of forage around to see who I can get. But I do actually, I have got some good horsey men in Dundalk. I'm not being funny, but Ned Stokes and the Stokeses will always help me out, and they did actually help myself and Emma Bell, who were trying to get a couple of horses out of a big field once, and Eddie went in with the van and just ran them round the field a couple of times, and in the end they kind of went, oh, for God's sake, we'll just go in the box, we can't be doing this anymore. So they just went in the horse box, and that was the end of it, but Eddie and Ned and John Evans and a few of the other lads, there are lads there I can call on to give me a hand, but my first port of call is here. Yeah, we've worked so well together anytime we've ever gone out and done anything that you rely on them.
Do you have a favourite animal here at the minute?
My favourite would be Flash. I'm working with him now, and we're trying to get him to trust people again. He's really coming around, though we can get him on the lead rope now. Yeah.
So the lead rope means that you're actually walking him around, is it?
Yeah. Okay. That you can get on his head collar and that he's more calm with it.
Right. And is he calm every day, or would you go in some days and you'd know that he's a bit agitated?
Well, some days he'd have an off day, like he wouldn't want to go out near anyone. And then some days he'd be really happy to go near people, Yeah.
Right.
Here, do you want?
Okay, so Rita, what have you got there?
I have a wee bit of an apple. He loves apples. And me fingers. He loves the apples. You can hear, and he'll start slabbering now in a wee minute. So just watch your microphone. There you go. Chew. Very quick at chewing as well. You need to give him a giant apple. That's it. They want them to make noise, they won't, and when you don't want them to make noise, they're all shouting and screaming. We had a horse in here that if you ignored her, she'd take the house down by kicking the gate. And when we'd have visitors, one of us would have to stand with her. Because if we didn't, she'd be banging and banging and banging. You'd hear her at the cross. So you would. You know, they love the attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
So what, in the corner here we've kind of a blue drum.
That's for their hay.
That's for their hay.
Yeah, at the moment, yeah. We're going to hopefully fix up better, what do you call them? For their hay. But it's grand, like. We did use the baskets, but our hay at the minute is quite, dust, and it does affect us, putting them into the bags and that. But when we have the haylage in now, we always put them in the bags. We don't like wasting any of that,
That's the good stuff, is it?
That's the good stuff, yeah. That's the stuff that
all right. So apart from the hay,
yeah.
Do you fill that up every morning?
Every morning they get it, and in the night time we doubly fill it as well, so they have plenty during the night. You usually have the whole place licked clean in the morning. It's great, yeah. And during the day. And then at the evening time, in the summertime, they get one feed in the evening. And in the winter time we give them 2 feeds, one in the morning just to fill their belly with cold weather, and then in the evening as well. So.
And have they any liquids or water in here?
We give them, the water tank is at the back of the stable, and it's flowing water automatically, so when they take a mouthful out of it, the water comes straight back into it. And we give them licks as well. We've mint licks here for them, and there's garlic lick you can get, and they're full of vitamins and minerals for them. They just die for that.
Could you show me one of those? I
will, surely, yes.
Okay.
We will have a big one which is in with Ruby at the minute. You can actually see the big bucket of it. That's the salt. That be more of the garlic. Well, it would be more of. Do you ever eat Bovril?
Yes.
That's what would be the consistency of it, and the smell and that, and it's all and molassesy as well, and it's just full of vitamins and minerals and all the goodness and the nutrients that they need, that they would get if they were out in grass. They'd get all that goodness. With them being in the stable, you see, the hay wouldn't have that. There's plenty of goodness in it too, but wouldn't have all the goodness that a fresh grass would have. Hello, Ruby. How are you?
Ruby's coming over to say hello.
Ruby's my baby, aren't you? You're my favourite girl.
Unfortunately, they can't talk.
No.
Unfortunately, and if they could talk, they'd tell us many a secret. They'd nearly tell us what we had for our breakfast.
Okay, can you describe Ruby for us then?
Ruby came in as she would have been a year old when she came in. Very she was very friendly when she came in. A lovely, friendly natured, good girl,
What does she look like?
And she's
what's bay?
Bay, she's a big bay.
Yeah.
So, well,
about 14 hands.
Sports horse, 13 hands. She's just a wee cross, yeah. And she's just so good natured. She just loves. She'll do anything for you as well. She'll nearly put the head into the head collar for you, and tell you when she wants out. Isn't that right?
She loves everybody, don't you, Ruby?
She loves everybody. She loves her grooming. Ready for backing, yeah, ready. And once we get her backed, she'll get a home, no problem. And she'll make a great first pony for a young girl, young boy. She's just so intelligent.
Yeah. So they like the attention. So you're kind of rubbing just below her ear.
Yeah.
And hugging her.
All the hugs and kisses that she loves. All right, yes, so come my baby girl. Yum, 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 yum. She nearly ate 30. She just loves it. Oh, she good girl. Oh, look at you. You're so good.
You should see them at feeding time. They'd be running around the stables when they see you coming with the buckets.
You know, you'd need nearly 12 people here just to put every bucket in at one time. Because you have ones going past and up and out, much to say, what about me, what about me?
And then you have the round of the fields where when the girls arrive in their cars or the jeeps, and they know the sound of them. They know if they're the far end of the field and they can't see them, they'll come flying up because they know it's feed time. You know, they've all sussed out. Oh, they're cleverer than us, really. I think.
Oh, big time, honest to God. They can learn a few things.
Okay.
She's a very good girl. She's a very good girl.
With cats and dogs, you rub them behind the ears.
Yeah, don't like their ears.
They don't, no.
But
with her being under the chin there, aren't they?
With the horse,
with her being young, I like to. I've already
fiddle with everything.
Yeah.
With the horse, the ear is usually the radar.
Right.
Yeah.
They can turn. They can turn. If you see them there, sometimes when you see them, one ear will be turned one way and the other. You know, where they're listening to what's going on,
switch.
Picking up. Yeah, it's like radar. You know, with them. And some of them don't like the ears being touched, you know. If you go to touch them, they'll pull away, you know.
So we're just kind of underneath the
usually long there. Well, I normally I don't.
Down here. There's a spot here, just here at the shoulder. There's a spot there, and it helps. It relaxes them.
Yeah.
It's like a pressure point.
And here as well on the neck, the mommy usually nibbles around here to give her the sense that everything's going to be okay. So she likes it there. That's
what we learned.
See a young foal too. You'll see the mother sometimes massaging them here, and it's to stimulate them, to help them to go. You know, the problem I had here with a lot of them was it's a horse. It's not a baby. Right?
Yeah.
It's fine when it's small, but when it grows up into maybe 15 hands and it comes running up behind you and runs right into your back, or swings round and kicks its heels up into your face, that's a different story then, So
you have to distance a bit, don't you?
You can, you have to.
Yeah.
If you watch the mare with its foal, it teaches it manners, you know. You don't. There's times the foal will go to feed and the mother will say no, you know, not yet, and she'll give her a wee nip, you know.
It is time as any to ask what got you into it in the first place.
Stupidity. I came home from England. I've been living now. I am a Dundalk girl, but I came home from England after 20 odd years in England, and was home a year. And I saw an advert for a voluntary inspector, and it was a day that I was supposed to be doing some course for FOSS or whatever, you know, computers, which kind of actually came in quite handy in the end, in the long run. But I went for my interview in Derry Hale, would you believe? And they said to me a few questions they asked me, and they said, would you be able to put an animal down? Not literally me, but would I? I said, I worked in the hospitals and that kind of thing, so I've seen it all. And they kind of went, right, grand, would you mind sitting outside? And I said, yeah, grand, okay. There was loads of people there. Anyway, I got called back in and got told, you've got the job, and this is the keys of the van, and this is Jim. And I'm going, Jesus. Right, now what do I do? So I had to go back and tell FOSS then that I was then the inspector, so they allowed me a day off a week. But it ended up I had more than one day off because some of the people came in there, and I think my first incident was a swan down Market Street, where I had some of the guards with me as well, and sure, I hadn't a bloody clue what I was doing. But anyway, I caught the swan, and we took it to the river, and that was that. So that was the start.
You're still doing it 16 years.
16 years on, yeah. Sometimes I wonder whether I should be or not, but anyway.
Yeah. But the nice thing you're saying is that every day is different, and you learn something new every day. Totally.
Every day is, well, dealing with the public. You never know what you're going to come up with. And dealing with animals, again, you never know what you're going to come up with. And, you know, like you said before about animals, like, they do read you. And I've gone out to ones where there's dogs scared in a corner and won't come near anybody. And yet they've allowed me to walk up to them and put a lead round their neck and take them away. You know, and they're the kind of days that make it worthwhile.
Right. And did you grow up among animals? Like,
I did, yeah.
You had that on?
Yeah. We've always had dogs. My mum used to do funnily enough, I found pictures there a while ago, which I'd forgotten about. And they used to show the dogs up in Dublin at the RDS, was it, or something? I don't know what it was. In years gone by, but I think it was the RDS possibly. And funnily enough, she showed dachshunds, and that's what I actually have.
Wow.
So it's funny how it goes round in a circle, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So I'm on my third dachshund now, but yeah, that's the way it is.
Okay. Amazing.
Elaine and Joe Duffy have been rescuing abandoned horses since 2008.
Bubble, wasn't it?
Yeah, we would have had a couple of horses of our own here. The daughters had them, and it turned out there was a friend of mine. He was involved in a syndicate that had bought a thoroughbred broodmare. The plan with them was they were going to breed thoroughbreds for racing. Plenty of money around at the time. Money was no problem. Then the bubble burst.
Like so many. They
had bred 2 filly foals from this mare. It ended up the money wasn't there, so they were going to send the mare to the factory. So my friend said, "Hang on a minute." Cahill, he said, "Hang on a minute, I'll leave it with me, I'll make a phone call." So he phoned me and he said, "Look," he says, told me this crack, and he says, "Is there anything you can do?" He says, "I know you have the couple of horses there and that." So I said to him, "Right, fair enough, ship her up the road." She was in livery in Waterford, and she landed here just before Christmas. Her book name was Scottish Eyes. We ended up, the girls called her Holly because she landed before Christmas, but when she arrived, it turned out that the youngest foal, she was about 14 months at the time, was with her in the box. About a week later, the other one arrived as well. So here we were, we had 3 instead of 1. A couple of weeks later, probably, there was a neighbour of ours phoned us about a donkey that had been tethered not too far away. It had nothing to eat. So when we went over, myself and one of the volunteers went over to see what the story was. It was tethered the way they have the spike in the ground and the rope on it and a head collar, and it had eaten right round as far as it could reach. It was in skin and bones. As soon as I walked up to it, I could get the smell, and I thought, it's cut somewhere, it has a bad cut and it's badly infected. It turned out that the head collar was actually embedded in the flesh at the back of the ears and in underneath the chin. So we took it in anyway, called the vet. When the vet came, he had to actually remove it out of it. It was in death, but it was all infected and that too. It also had, the vet reckoned it had double pneumonia. He injected and he said, "I don't know if it's going to make it or not." But it ended up, one of the daughters here, Sarah, she got a syringe with baby milk, and she started syringing baby milk into it, just letting them drink it nice and slow, and he survived, and that was Alfie. We called him King Alfie. And he survived, and then after that it was just the gates just opened and they just started pouring in. We had 10 come in one batch. We could have, if we had been able to take more, we could have had them, you know.
Back in the stables, Elaine describes a pony called Daisy, and then talks about the changes that looking after animals can make in people's lives.
Daisy's about 10 hands high. She's up to your sort of the top of your leg. She's black and white with a mass of gingery black hair at the front. She looks like she's singed, and she just has a great personality. She's not quiet. She's beautiful. She's up. She's friendly. She's in your face, and she's a lovely girl. She's a lovely girl. She's we have quite a few of our ponies that we sort of we would keep 4 or 5 of them. We keep just for grooming if special needs or anybody comes in that they'd like to spend some time with a pony. We would have a few of them there. As I said many years ago, when the very first incident of anyone with special needs or any kind of addictions would ever come to us, a group of guys arrived. I'm not going to go into too many details, but I stood in the stable. All 8 of them didn't want to be here. And they looked at me with the cold sweat running down the side of their face.
Holly Horsehaven has run programmes for people with addiction problems, and Elaine describes standing in front of a group and that feeling of not knowing what to say to them.
I'm not going to patronise you by saying that I know where you have been with your life, the difficulties you've had in it, where you are now, or even where you're going to go with your life. I'm not even going to go there. But standing here looking at you are 11 horses that get it. They have been where you've been, they are where you are, and they have no idea what the rest of their life is going to be. Now, all we're ever going to ask of you is that you treat them the way you would like to be treated yourself. They would have murdered for those horses. They took to them. We had them here for 18 months till the programme was pulled. They loved them, and they taught us so much too. They taught us what it's like to be in their life, what it's like to walk in their physical shoes, what it's like for them to have people looking at them as human beings and not understanding what it is that they've been through. Their trauma didn't show. They didn't have...
And this group of guys went on to learn growing techniques, from seed to feed, and work the polytunnels growing herbs such as mint, which is then used to keep flies away from horses in the stable. Can you describe what Miller's doing there?
He's having a wee play. He's just nibbling with me hand. He's looking for treats, I suppose, but he's had his fill now today.
Right.
But he likes to tickle under the chin, don't you? Don't you, baby? Oh, he just loves being with you.
He's very sociable, isn't he? He is. Straight over.
He's
he
very good boy.
In the mud outside.
Yeah. Remember yesterday?
Yesterday it was raining and the turnout was all mucky, and he went in the middle of it and rolled around in the muck and he was all mucky.
You had to wait till you dried and brush him off?
Yeah.
All right. And you just mentioned the different brushes, so he has a mane of longer hair, and then his tail is different brushes for those?
Yeah, you just sometimes use an ordinary hair brush. It has to have long teeth, so it goes into the and the metal comb is very good for the mane and tail as well, because it's quite long and it's quite thick hair, wiry hair, and a curry comb.
He's a good boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, he was signed in, so he wouldn't have had a. You can tell that a lot of the times you can tell the difference. He's been well used to human beings and loved, and just circumstances couldn't be kept. You know, life changes and circumstances change, you know, and they come into us. This next wee guy now, Flash, is one that Fiona, yet another that Fiona brought in.
Okay, Fiona.
Yeah, Flash was. I got a message to say that he'd been dumped in a field and nobody had permission to put him there, and the owner wanted him out. So contacted Joe, and we had great crack trying to catch him, didn't we, in the field?
In a lot of cases with the small ones, they're usually, any of the small ones that have been dumped, they're usually stallions. So straight away, you know you're going to have sport with them, you know. Mm-hmm. Once they come in, then we have to get them gelded, and some of them can be tough if they haven't been handled or that. You can have a fight on your hands to get them gelded, you know. And
you have to bring them into a kind of a small narrow compartment.
It's trying.
Oh no, it's all vet. The vet has to come and sedate.
But you get them into, once you have them in the stall, you have them contained. So then the vet has to sedate them, and it's usually the first sedation can be the hard one, you know. But once he gets them gets them a bit sleepy, you can they're workable then, you know. So then he gels them, and if they need their hoofs trimmed, that's the best time to try and do it as well when they're under the sedation, you know.
Fiona and Joe tell us how difficult it can be to get a horse into a horse box, and how the laws of nature and basic attraction can be employed to get the job done.
It was a huge field, wasn't it? And it was boggy in the middle, and we were nearly sinking, and you could only go so far with the horse box as well, which was a nuisance. Because normally if you can get them collared into a small area, you can persuade them to go in, but he did go in the end.
I took a small, in fact it was Daisy I took out, the small, and once he seen her he was curious, and of course with her being a female he was more curious, so he decided, I'll go in, I'll follow her in here, you know. So it wasn't too bad, you know, but there's times now you can have sport trying to get them caught
before, trying to get a male in with his eye hanging out, and the females everywhere, and Joe then getting him in and trying to persuade him to stay there.
And trying to come over the tailboard of the trailer, you know.
Over the years, and many years, we have had people, it's an amazing thing. We've had people that have come into us here at Holly's, and I'm sure Fiona's the same, who would say, old people especially, who would be visiting and they'd say, have you tried this natural remedy? We used to do on our farm when we had a horse that had pneumonia, we used to do this and this and this and this, or we had whatever, and they'd chat away to Joe there, and over the years we have been self-taught, or taught, but not self-taught, taught by them.
Knowledge.
I suppose it's a wee bit like the old Celtic Druid ways, isn't it, where they orally passed down the traditions. And it's an incredible thing that it still works in our society today, because we have literally cut our vet bills dramatically because of the kindness and sharing of this amazing information. And many people have come into us, Fiona, we did talk about this a number of years ago, we should actually do a natural healing remedy book to raise funds for both our charities, simply because you would be absolutely amazed at the information that we have been given. And not only have we been given this information, but with every respect in the world to our beautiful rescues, we have tried them, tested them, and know they work.
Okay. Joe, would you have an example of maybe one natural remedy for us?
It's just Joe himself. It's just yourself.
It would have been said to me years back. It was probably actually my uncle who said to me that if you had a sick animal, and if it's still eating, if you give it oats, if you can get oats into it, even a handful of oats, you can actually see it improve. You know, it'll lift its head up, and you can see it coming back to life. You know, and it does work, because I have done it myself. I actually had 2 ponies on different occasions who had ate something and were poisoned. Now the vet reckoned that there was one of them in particular that he wasn't going to make it, you know. And I thought to myself, well, hang on a minute now, we're going to see if we can do something here, you know. And there was actually two of the lads here at the time, and they thought I was mad. I went into the feed shed and I got a good scoop of oats, and we had stuff there. It's a charcoal based stuff. It's called, I might as well say, it's called Comfort Gut.
That was donated to us.
And it was donated to us. And I put 2 good scoops of the Comfort Gut into the oats and mixed it up and give it to the pony. He was still able to eat. Although he couldn't stand, and all the muscles had gone into like spasms. He was shaking. So he ate the bucket of oats with the charcoal in it, and about maybe 3 hours later I went back in with another bucket full to him, and the 2 lads says, you're going to kill him, you know. And I said, well, if we don't do something, he's going to die anyway. And I said to them then, it was could have been 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, that's it. I says, away with you. I'm going to bed. So I got up then about 6 o'clock and come up to have a look at him. And when I come into the stable, he was actually standing on his legs. He had got up. Before that he couldn't stand. So I went in and I got another bucketful and gave it to him. And that's what cured him. The charcoal absorbed the toxins out of the blood.
And the oats give them energy.
And the oats give them the lift they need, to that boost, you know. I forget what I said. I remember saying to the fat after he come back maybe a week or two later about something else, and he says, what about the pony? And I said, oh, he's over the fields there, he's fine, you know. And he goes, what? You know, he says, I didn't give him much hope. So there you are.
I can give you another one, another healing, we would call them healing, alternative remedies, I suppose. We had a pony that was brought into us. It was very, 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 very ill, very traumatised, very damaged, but it had a respiratory problem as well, was very caught up. And we just couldn't go into the stable to it. We couldn't get near it to rub anything on it, to put Vic or anything else of any kind on it. And it was an old man of about 90 arrived that day with his wife, and he turned round and he says, what's up? And I said, oh, we've got that pony in there and I can't get near him, you know. And it was horrible. You were breathing for him. It was horrendous. And he said, let me see it. You know, so he hobbled down on his stick and he looked at it and he looked at me and he said, way over there, he says, and get me one of those bags. He says, one of those muslin bags. He says, like a hay straw bag. And he says, shove in some of that hay into it. He says, and bring it over here to me. And I'm looking at him crazy. And I said, okay. And he says, now tie a rope round that bag. He says, there. He says, and where's that stuff you wanted to rub in him? He says, I says, oh, that eucalyptus. Bring it over here to me, daughter. He says, and he brought it over and he poured it all over the top of the bag. And then he says, get me a kettle of hot water. Went and got the kettle of hot water and he poured it all over the top of it. And he opened the stable door a crack and he threw the bag in underneath the horse with the rope out my end. Now he says, whenever that cools down a wee bit, he says, you pull it out again and put more boiling water on it and throw it back in. In 2 days, the horse was fine. The eucalyptus cleared him and helped him. We could not have gone into that stable. We couldn't have done it. But that man showed us how to do it. I mean, it's just amazing. It's an education in itself. And in healing.
Isn't it amazing how people turn up like that just to be able to give you when you need them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's only the tip of the iceberg. Oh my God, the ideas, simple ideas that you just wouldn't have thought of. It's like a holly tress, Pinterest, but it's holly tress.
We catch up with Lauren, who's at the turnout.
We're just trying to get Crystal and Socks back into their field so that we can take out the other horses. And they'd get about an hour or a half hour to run about, and then they'd come back in and we put out the other horses.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're feeding them there in the corner?
Yeah, we're trying to get them back in so they'd follow the hay. And then we'll have to close the gate, and then they'll just be roaming around the field for the rest of the day until they get fed.
Right. And do you ever pick names for the horses?
No, not yet. I only came in here about 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Right, only 2 weeks. It looks as if you're here that long.
Yeah, I enjoy it here though. It's really good. And the animals, they're great. Like, they're very healing, you know.
Winter time, how do you look after the animals?
Well, a lot of them would get blankets on them and then the rugs on them, and some of them will keep them on and some of them will just rip them off and not, you know. But the majority of them will, especially thoroughbreds, because they're quite cold. You know, they'd find the cold quicker than a cob would, or Shetland.
Oh, did you mean
Shetland? Or did you mean us, did you? We wrap up really well, don't you worry.
Yeah.
Anybody want to donate clothes for the poor old volunteers? No bother.
Layers of
Would you be cold in the winter? No coats.
Socks, bucket out boots, layers of socks. Not me, the girls. I'm a backroom girl.
Yeah.
And I spend my time behind a computer.
Yeah.
But and have mucked out many times when it's needed to be done, let me tell you.
Definitely.
But warm coats, warm jumpers, 40 layers, onions, you know, and very difficult. It can be hard when you're going up there.
Especially if you're in 6 foot of snow and you have to take water up to the mountain.
Yes.
You know, it can be
People
tough.
can
But
check out
we
our,
have to do it.
People can check out our website, tolleyshorsehaven.com, and they'll see lots of filming of snow and mountains and hard times and difficult times and great times. More great times than hard times. Yeah. You know.
I love it here and it's very fun. I learn about the animals and I enjoy every minute of it.
I just like to say, treat the animals as you would like to be treated.
Oh, good point.
Just love what I do, and I wouldn't be doing anything else. I just love it.
Animal Rescue Louth was recorded and edited by Alan Byrne. This programme was funded by the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with the television licence fee.